Okay. So what we're gonna do, you can see here I have my pink foam block. When we do our rough cuts, this is what we're gonna start with. Um, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you guys how to trace out your image. So from the foam block, I'm gonna go to my side view here, and I'm gonna go and I'm gonna look for a sports car. So here I've got a picture of a sports car, and I'm just gonna kind of steal the side view of this. So when I go through, I can just simply use my snipping tool, grab my image. I can simply say save. I've already saved it here. Otherwise, go ahead and name it, save it, um, and then what I can do is if I go back to Inventor, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a sketch on my side profile here, and I'm going to go to Insert Image. I'm going to grab that same sports car image, and notice here my sports car image is much larger than my foam block. That's okay. We can shrink it down after we get it on there. So that's close enough for what I'm going for. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I am going to trace. Um, Now, when I get started here, I want to make sure that I have the outside of my object created. So I'm going to use my project geometry tool. So if I click the top part of that and then I click that rectangle, if you notice those yellow lines that are now present, what that did is it projected the edge of my box or my foam block onto where I'm drawn. So with this spline tool, I just click a series of points, and what it's going to do is it's going to kind of gradually curve my line as I go. So you don't have to be exact with this. The goal is to just kind of copy the edge of the image. The important thing is when we get to the end of this, we have to create the line, and it has to be solid enough, otherwise it's not going to let us extrude the object. So you don't have to use spline. When you're doing a bunch of curves and stuff, it is kind of nice. Now this, I'm going to do it in kind of two parts. So I'm going to kind of flow it back, and I'm going to stop at that line. So now if I right click, select create, and it creates that chunk all as one piece. Now I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom. Now on the bottom, I don't really need the wheels. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of go across and make the bottom flat. And I'll start to curve up again. When I get to the end, select create. So now I have two halves. Now with my hover car, I can be taller than what I am. So if I want to shave off the bottom, that's fine. We don't want to make it too small. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my line I created. Oh, I clicked on the picture. I can take my line I created. Now if I click and drag, I get a green box. If I go the other way, I get a red box. The green box is anything the green touches, it will automatically highlight. The red box is only things that fit completely in there. So if I drag a red box, I just get that, which is what I want. I'm going to select move. Base point. Base point is just simply where I grab the object. So here it says we're going to relax the geometry. That's okay. All I want to do is I'm going to go straight up. I'm just going to make it a little bit taller, like that. And click done. So if I click finish, I go ahead and go into extrude. Now notice I can grab my bottom part just fine, but when I go to grab my top, it doesn't totally notice what I'm looking for. So sometimes it's because I don't have that point connected. So an easy way to go about fixing this is I'm just going to snap a line. So when you're selecting something to extrude, think about it as kind of coloring inside the lines. If I don't have it predefined well enough, it doesn't know which way to go. Now that's our join command, that's adding it out. If I do cut, cut is going to take it in. So notice how it goes through and it cuts in. And in this one, I'm just going to select all. So I can put the 2.5 inches or however wide the block is too. But if I select all, the computer does the math for me. So then that gives me kind of my basic outside aspect. Now if I go to my origins folder here, I can see my different planes. I'm going to turn the visibility of my top plane on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click Sketch. I'm going to click and hold and drag that plane up. Now, how far up, it really doesn't matter. As long as I'm above my whole object, it's going to do what I want. So if I want it to be 1.5 or 1, it all works. As long as I'm above it, it's fine. So then I'm going to again use my project geometry. I'm going to select my object, and what it does is it projects all of those edges all the way up to the top. So I know where my top is, so I'm going to use my spline tool, and what I want to do is I want to just kind of make this a little aerodynamic. I'm going to get a little bit of a curve here, select create. Now I want this to be symmetrical, so if I come over here where that green dot is, that's the center. Do the same thing here, and then click OK, and I'm going to mirror. Mirror, what it does is I can take this, and then my mirror line is kind of that fold line where it folds it over top. So if I click apply, notice how it took that, folded it over this to give me the exact same thing over here. Again, just to make sure I single out that one part that I want to extrude, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of connect those edges up with some extra lines. I'll click finish. So then this way when I grab extrude, notice how there I grabbed the whole thing. So if you just accidentally grab the whole thing, just hold the control key down and reselect that space. So if I hold here, I'll get kind of a different set, and I can get a drop down menu, or just move your mouse until you get that correct one. I'm going to click cut, and again I'm going to select all, so it goes all the way to the bottom. So I'll click OK. Now notice here I didn't get that front edge, so if I need to go back in and make some changes here, if my end should be a little bit further out, what I can do is I can over dramatize that cut like that, or I can take that line out, and notice how there's that other edge right there. I can take my line over to that point. So it's just a little bit further. And I'm not going to take the time to do it to the other side, but you saw how it updated after I did that. So you can get the whole car. But that sometimes happens. It's easy to go through and correct. If I want to get rid of these work planes, if I come over here, right click, select the visibility, I can take those off. And then if you want to go through and add some other features, if you want to punch in a window or some other add-ons, again, if we do that, we don't have to cut it all the way in. So if I want some sort of, maybe I want a circular hole or a small little window or something, when I cut this through, we don't necessarily want to cut it all the way in. We can just go a little bit so it kind of defines that without taking it all the way out. And part of that gets into planning for 3D prints, because any empty space that's in an enclosure, you have to do what's called support material. So we'll talk a little bit more about that in class as well.